You know, if you use a computer a ton, you've probably ran into the situation where you're in need of a few more ports, especially if you're a big laptop user. The newer MacBook Pros bringing back ports like the HDMI port or the SD card readers is pretty dope, but when you're working at a desk, sometimes you need a lot more ports than just those. Enter I/O docks. There's a ton of players in the game, but one of the more recent brands to step up and take the plate is a brand called Ivanky. They happened to reach out a couple weeks ago asking if they could send me a couple of their docks and I could put them through my normal workflow and let them know how they do and compare them a little bit. So I've been using them for a little while now and I've got some things to say about them. Ivanky has a handful of different docks, but they sent over two of their more notable ones. Those two being the Fusion Dock Pro 1 and the Fusion Dock Max 1. Both of these docks are pretty awesome, but there's a handful of things you should know about them before you are able to decide on whether they are for you or a different offering is for you. Now, I'm not comparing these docks to each other in a little bit of a bubble. I am comparing it to the other Ivanky docks as well as some other ones in the industry. And the really notable one out of the two is the Fusion Max one, as it has some industry leading features. But we're going to compare both of them and we're going to start with the Fusion Dock Pro 1. Really quickly though, before I hop into the docks, I do want to let you guys know that Prime Day is just around the corner. It's in like another week. And my good friends at SoundPeats are launching a new pair of earbuds that I want to tell you about really quick. The SoundPeats Go Free 2 are their new earbuds. They are open ear, over ear headphones, meaning that they sit really comfortably on top of your ear and you can also hear around them, so you can really comfortably hear the world with no need for a pass-through mode. They're comfy and they boast some awesome sound and bass, and on top of that they have a 35-hour battery life. And on top of that, they are IPX5 waterproof, so your sweat isn't gonna ruin them because these are pretty great buds for exercising. And along with all of the awesome specs, they have a custom app that allows you to set custom EQs, so you can turn these into your own personal perfect sound system. I have personally really enjoyed these when I'm out on walks trying to close my rings, and I think that you would too. The link is in the description if you do want to check them out, and that link in the description does help the channel if you decide to purchase them. Thank you to SoundPeats for sending those buds out so I could give them a good old test. Back to the video. Alright, the Fusion Dock Pro 1 is a $200 14-port dock for MacBooks. The build of this dock is mostly plastic, and for the price point, it could be a little bit more premium, but it gets the job done. The port that connects to the laptop specifically to charge the laptop and power all the ports comes out of the side of the dock itself, which is kind of interesting. The thing is that docks generally have to pick whether they want the main power port for your laptop or your desktop to come out of the back of the dock or the front of the dock, and it can be kind of annoying getting a dock that has the port on the opposite side of what you want, but having it come out of the side seems like a perfect middle ground for anybody who wants to have the dock up front, kind of accessible with their laptop, or put away and stowed looking clean. And I'm honestly okay with that, even though I am a port coming out of the back kind of guy. Now on the front, we've got a power delivery port that's doing 20 watts, which is great for charging your phone and stuff. It's not super fast, but it's perfectly fine. Besides that, you've got a single USB-C 3.0 port and two 5 gigabit USB-A ports. Next to that is a UHS 1 SD card port, as well as a micro SD card port and a headphone jack. You also have a power button on the front. The power button took a second to get used to because I'm honestly not sure I've ever used a dock with a power button. If for some reason the things plugged into the dock aren't working, just make sure that the power button is on. I made the mistake multiple times of just accidentally bumping it or something and then being confused that my drive wasn't showing up. So make sure that that power button is glowing. On the back of the dock, we've got the power port as well as two USB-A ports doing 148 megabits. And then we also have 1 gig Ethernet. And along with the 1 gig Ethernet, we have 3 HDMI 2.0 ports. This is a solid selection of ports, but I do have to call out the speeds because they are kind of lacking. One thing that I do want to give this dock though is when looking at the competition in the price point and the same amount of ports, I cannot find anybody who's doing 3 HDMI 2 ports, which makes this dock stand out a little bit. If you do work with lighter file sizes like programming, maybe photos, a lot of admin work and such, I think that this dock could be the one. If you've got 3 HDMI monitors that need a picture and a laptop that needs a little bit of extra IO, this thing can do it. If you do any work with big file sizes though and don't need 3 HDMI specifically, that calls this dock into doubt a little bit. Most of the random brands doing different docks that I've found are trying to do one of two things. They're trying to either be just a simple USB hub plug and play, or they're trying to be a real deal Thunderbolt dock for professionals. So at this price point, you're either finding docks doing far less ports, or you're getting priced out of this price range. At $200, it's actually kind of hard to find equivalent models. Ivanky, though, kind of has the best competitor to this dock. I did some research on them, obviously, because they're sending me stuff and I want to know a little bit more about them, and I found that they had two other docks in the Fusion dock line that they did not send. One is the regular just Fusion Dock 1. It's a few less ports. They're doing the same 5 gigabit to 480 megabyte speeds. It's less ports. It's about 170, a little bit cheaper. But then they also have one other dock called the Fusion Dock 1 Plus. And the Fusion Dock 1 Plus is $220, making it $20 more expensive than the Pro. It's exclusively for the MacBook Pros, but it offers the same port selection as the Fusion Dock 1, but at double the speed. So on this one, you're looking at 12 ports instead of 14 that you see on the Pro. The only two ports that it loses are a single USB-C and an HDMI port. But then across the board, you get 10 gigabit USB-C and USB-A ports, and then the Ethernet is 2.5 gigs instead of the singular 1 gig port. If you need 3 HDMI ports for a 3-monitor setup, then the Pro is for you. But if you can pull together another 20 bucks and you don't need all 3 HDMI ports, then the Fusion Dock Plus is really compelling with a great selection of ports at really high speeds. But with that out of the way, that leads me over to the Fusion Dock 1 Max, which is Ivanky's highest offering across the board, and this thing is strictly business. It's for Apple Silicon exclusively, and it offers 20 ports. It uses a special cable from Ivanky that has a 2-prong end, and it plugs into the 2 left USB-C ports on MacBook Pros. And then on the other side, there's another 2 ports that plug directly into the dock itself. Now, this guy has 5 different USB-A ports, all doing 10 gigabits. 3 on the back, 2 on the front. It also has 4 40 gigabit 6K monitor supporting USB-C ports, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. And like I said, all 4 of those ports support 6K monitors, so if you want a supercomputer cockpit, you've got it. Besides that, we have got a headphone jack on the front, as well as a UHS 2 SD and micro SD card adapter. And then on the back, we have got the 2.5 gig Ethernet, as well as 2 HDMI 2.0 ports if you need even more monitors. And on the back, we also have 2 last ports, one being optical audio and the other being line out. The design of this dock is also kind of special. It's got this floating design that helps the dock stay cool and keeps air circulating all over the place. Setting this thing up with my MacBook was frankly impressive. One cord, kinda, and I can have a ton of high-speed stuff rigged up and out of the way. With 2 studio displays, high-speed Ethernet, and a RAID unit all connected to the dock, running out of the back, out of sight, out of mind, it's already pretty impressive. This dock has 2 Thunderbolt 4 chips built into it, making all of this speed possible, and it is damn hard to not want this kind of power, especially after you've used it. It rings in at $439.99, which is a pretty premium price point, but with the ludicrous amount of ports and power, as well as a beautiful all-metal design, it's hard to say that it doesn't feel worth it. Also considering it just works and it does not slow down in my experience. I think that most people would agree that the main competition at this level is the CalDigit Thunderbolt 4 dock. The CalDigit is $40 cheaper, but you lose 2 ports, and one of those being the USB-C 40 gigabit port, meaning it has 1 less than the Fusion Dock Max, and that takes away an extra display or high-speed drive potential. And on top of that, the I/O on the CalDigit is mostly out the back. You have very limited I/O on the front, meaning if you need to plug in a temporary drive or anything, you're gonna have to pull the dock out of wherever you've got it, and you're gonna have to unplug, plug stuff up in the back, which I find kind of annoying considering I keep my dock under a nice monitor shelf. And on top of that, the CalDigit just isn't as sexy. I know this is super subjective, but I think the Ivanky Fusion Dock Max 1 is a beautiful dock. With that beautiful design, as well as the the extra 2 ports, I just think the extra $40 for the Ivanky over the CalDigit is a no-brainer. I can't really find any other brands that live up to this level of quality at the highest end of Thunderbolt docks. You're either getting really shoddy reliability, you're getting much less ports, or just way slower ports. Also, I do want to say, they don't really market this, as the dock is primarily marketed for MacBook Pros, but I've got a Mac Studio, and according to support and my own experience, because I've been using it now, you can just plug in the Fusion Dock Max directly into the Mac Studio with 2 different Thunderbolt ports. I personally have the higher end M2 Max Mac Studio, so while I get a ton of Thunderbolt ports on the back, I don't get any on the front. Having the Fusion Dock Max on my desk next to my studio allows me to have some Thunderbolt ports on the front, meaning if I just need to temporarily plug in like a Thunderbolt 4 NVMe enclosure, I can plug it in really quick without having to pull everything out and find the Thunderbolt ports. All of the extra I/O for my studio or for my MacBook allows me to have all the connectivity I need, and I can put it away under a nice little dock thing, under a monitor, and it stays out of the way and beautiful. And then I also want to point out that with both of these docks, you have a 24-month, 2-year warranty, which helps add some peace of mind. These are both incredible docks, and the other one that I also mentioned, the Fusion Dock 1 Plus, is also pretty awesome. The Pro for workflows that don't do a lot of data management and need a ton of monitors, and then the Plus for a really well-priced, high-speed dongle. The Fusion Dock 1 Max is for pros who have tons of files, big files, tons of management, moving stuff around. It is high speed, tons of ports, and it is a beautiful design to boot. I've got links for all 3 of these docks in the description, and I highly recommend checking them out. Anyone who uses a MacBook as a pseudo desktop setup should have at least one of these, so go treat yourself to a summer purchase and know that it does help support this channel. I also want to say thank you to Ivanky for being honestly one of the kindest companies I've ever worked with. I'm going to be using an Ivanky dock pretty much permanently, and I'm incredibly grateful that I got the opportunity to talk about these products for you guys. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.